So, welcome to our second to the last workshop of Senior Week. Who here has gone? This is the third one, or the third or more. All right, cool. All right, so this workshop today is going to be, before I introduce our speaker, it's called Marketing Yourself into Your First Job. So before I introduce our guest speaker officially, just a few announcements. First off, I'll introduce myself. My name is Kristen Aranis. I'm a recent graduate, so some of you guys may recognize me. I currently work under multi-ethnic programs as a staff member, and I was a former peer career advisor, like these two right over here. That's Elizabeth and Micah, and they work under the Career Center. All right, so right now we have Micah. He's holding the sign-in sheet, so if you haven't signed in yet, please raise your hand so we can pass it over to you. He'll also be stamping, do you have the stamp? Yeah, he'll also be stamping your little brochure if you guys haven't already gotten that. Okay, so, and as most of you guys probably already know, if you have 3 stamps or more, you can trade that in for this leather portfolio, super nice, at the Career Center at the end of the week. Okay, so, let's see. And then another quick announcement is that our last workshop is going to be tonight at 7 o'clock in Upper Gwyn, and that's going to be with Dr. Brian Dick, and he's going to talk about a little bit about vocational calling from a Christian perspective. So I highly recommend that you guys all attend that one. It'll be a really great speech and workshop for that. So without further ado, go ahead and introduce our guest speaker. This is Elizabeth Atcheson, and she has worked with us for about 3 years, various workshops and speeches just like this through the Center for Career Calling. So go ahead and take it away.
Thank you, Kristen. So a little bit on my background before we get started, and just a heads up, I'm going to be calling on you guys, so this will be a fairly interactive session, especially since it sounds like several of you have been to a few of these sessions, so you really know much more than you did on Monday, right? About looking for a job. So I grew up in New England, moved west to go to college, went to college at Stanford, majored in psychology, graduated, and basically for 10 years pursued a marketing and marketing communications career. So I worked in advertising, I worked in the natural foods business because I was very passionate about organic food and natural food and gourmet foods. And then I went to business school, got an MBA from Stanford in 1986. And business school kind of laid on top of my marketing orientation a strategic orientation. And what I use in my work with private clients is both marketing and strategy, because in the challenging job economy of today, you really need to be hitting it on both of those fronts. Strategy first, then marketing. So then after I graduated from business school, I went back, did about another 10 years or so working in marketing. And one day someone said to me, you know, Elizabeth, you have a gift for working with people in transition, and you should be using that gift. And I hope for all of you that you have a moment like that, where the thing that you were kind of put on earth to do is either named for you by someone else who knows you well, or that you, through a process of reflection and career assessment, identify it and can name it for yourself. Because once it's named, you're off like a rocket. So since that day, I have been working with people in transition using strategy and marketing. So, and it's my pleasure, you guys are my favorite age. I work with all ages. I'm a private career coach here in Seattle. I give a lot of workshops. I do a lot of work at both Seattle University, here at SPU, and also down at Stanford. And the work I do with students is really the favorite part of my work, because although you guys maybe don't know it, you guys are just in a great place right now. You're just beginning your career, all the doors are open to you, and people want to help you. So just to kind of go through what we're going to go through today in our short hour and 10 minutes, I've mentioned strategy and marketing as key aspects of career development, but today we're just going to be focusing on marketing. So if you haven't spent the time yet to figure out what you want to do, that isn't the focus of today's discussion. Today is you kind of know the field that you want to explore and you need some help in learning how to explore it. We're going to talk about what all your marketing communications tools are, because you have a big fat toolbox of marketing communications tools. And then we're going to talk about networking and informational meetings, because 95% of you, that's how you will get a job. Particularly in the age group that you guys are in, when you go out and talk to people and share with them your interest in the field, your passion for what they do, your interest in how to develop a career in that field, often a job is created with you in mind. That still happens. And then we're going to talk about thanking and follow-up, which is truly the secret sauce in looking for a job. It is one of the things that differentiates people who land jobs, is that they really hit it on the follow-up. When they go in for an interview, or when they even have a phone screen, they are really solid with their follow-up. I've seen many, many times where someone goes into an interview and just thinks, okay, my work is done. That interview went pretty well. And they just sit back and relax. And that is not going to lead to a job offer. You need to be pursuing that offer and following up just dead on throughout the process. And thanking people also as you build your professional network. When you thank someone, they get on your team and they want to stay on your team. The words thank you should always be on the tip of your tongue. So this is a bit of an aspirational slide. So where you are now, you have done some career assessment. How many of you really can say you've done some career assessment? Have most of you been working with the Career Center, Career and Calling Center, or at least you've thought about where you want to go, most of you? And I'm also going to be hopeful here and say that you have an interim strategy, in the sense that you've decided, I'm going to explore this field. Again, it's, you know, you may not be quite there, but that's the starting point for this presentation. So now it's time to market yourself. And the very first thing in marketing yourself is knowing how to talk about yourself. And that's what this yellow handout is all about, your personal narrative. So there are 4 elements. Do you have a question?
I don't have a yellow.
Oh, where are the handouts?
Sorry.
That's okay. Thank you for mentioning that. This is why they're all color-coded, so that we know. It's so much easier. So this is my lemon sherbet handout. We also have raspberry sherbet, lavender sherbet. Okay. So the elements of your narrative, I've always found it really helpful to tell people what to say about themselves, because that's the first thing you're going to be doing, is saying who you are, what you're interested in, any experience that demonstrates that you've done something in that area. Boots on the ground means you're not just studying it and you're not just talking about it, but you maybe did an internship, or you maybe worked somewhere last summer, or maybe when you were a student, you worked in the computer lab on campus, or in the design building to be an assistant to the art teachers there. Whatever it is, you've got to think about what your boots on the ground are, because people need to feel that you have done something. And I am a master at naming boots on the ground if you're having trouble with that. So we can come back to that when you're filling out your narrative section, and if anybody's having trouble, raise your hand. Third is the field that you're exploring. So I am looking into the web services field. I am exploring the field of nutrition and dietetics. I am exploring the field of mental health services. You've got to name the field, because people all around you want to help you, but they don't know how to help you unless you're specific. And then finally, do you happen to know anyone who works in name a field, in this case physical therapy, I could talk to? So I want you guys to take pens and pencils out and actually fill out this, let's take just a few minutes. I've given you, in each section, I've given you a sample. So in section 1, I'm a senior at Seattle Pacific University, majoring in X. You know how to fill that out. With a special interest in, and this is important, if you're majoring in psychology, for example, you want to add something that helps shape it a little more. With a special interest in serving adolescents, or with a special interest in working in underserved communities, or with a special interest in abnormal psychology, or whatever it might be. And that's true for any field that you have. You've got to kind of narrow it down a little bit. Is anybody having trouble with that, with section 1, as they're writing it down for themselves? Just stick your hand up and we'll work on it for you. Everybody got a little subset that is the special part of their major that they're particularly interested in? And I will say that ideally, the thing you're interested in should be a growing area. Okay, so this is, I can't resist. I have to get a little strategic here. So on Tuesday, I gave a presentation in Patty Farmer's class from the Center for Career and Calling. Were any of you in that class? No. So there was a person in there who's a chemistry major who happens to have a very strong interest in the chemistry of water quality. Well, this is a very strategically strong field, right? Because water is becoming in shorter and shorter supply. So I said to her, that's great. That's absolutely perfect. Zero in on that. It's not to say that you're pigeonholed into that, but you do want to mention something that gives that person something to hold on to about what your interest is. Okay, next, what you focused on either in college or in your summer jobs. So maybe last summer you did an internship somewhere, and I discovered I'm very interested in customer service in the area. Or during college I worked on the Falcon, our student newspaper, and realized I love the visual aspects of journalism. So web design as it gets expressed in journalism. And then the third one is what field you are exploring now. You're just graduating from college, so this is exactly the time when you are exploring how to begin a career in something. So there are a couple of different ways I've given you here of expressing that. You can say, I'm exploring ways that a person with my background and skills can make a contribution. That's a nice way to say it instead of can get a job, right? Hear the difference? It's more about what's going to be helpful to them. Or I'm exploring the XXX field and I'm trying to learn about different ways of entering the field. So go ahead and jot that down for yourself. And then finally, and this is something that doesn't come naturally to most people when they are in job transition, you have to make an ask. You have to say, do you know anyone who works in communications for a communications firm? Do you know anyone who works in veterinary medicine, either as a vet tech or as a veterinarian? Do you know anyone who works in exercise science with collegiate athletes? Do you know anyone who works in physical therapy? So write down your ask. because that needs to be tattooed on the inside of your eyelids. While you're looking for your post-graduation job, you are going to ask everyone that question. Seriously. Your neighbor, your parents' neighbors, the person you start chit-chatting with at the gym or at, say, standing at Starbucks you see every week. Because the one thing I've learned in 15 years of being a career coach is that often it's the most random introductions and connections that lead to jobs. And the only way you can allow those to bubble up to the surface is by asking everyone you know, everyone whose paths you cross. Okay, everybody got theirs written? Okay, I'm gonna call, just because you have a beautiful turquoise shirt on, can you please read your narrative?
Yeah.
What's your name?
Hi, I'm Selena. I don't know, should I just like...
Hi, Selena.
Okay.
Just lay it on us.
Okay.
We want to hear it.
Hi, I'm Selena. I am a senior at SPU and I'm majoring in journalism and communications with a special interest in public relations and social media marketing.
Nice.
During this part's
And those are social media marketing, by the way, very strategic. There is a bias among people my age. We look at someone your age and we think, oh, that person knows about social media. So take advantage of it. Run with it. Okay, so mention social media marketing. Perfect.
This one's a little rough, but that's okay.
Okay.
All right. During school, writing for the journal, like writing for the Falcon, and also taking a lot of interpersonal communications classes, I really found a calling to be the liaison between like companies and the public.
Very nice. That's good. Okay.
I am trying to explore public relations and how it works alongside advertising agencies, specifically integrated marketing companies. So do you know anyone in the integrated marketing company or advertising agencies that I could talk to and ask questions?
Perfect. You nailed it the first time. That's awesome. Okay, someone from a different field. So like a science-y or computery or something like that. Anybody over here? No? One of you have a science computer?
Hi.
No?
I'm a CS major.
Sweet. Let's hear yours.
Okay, hi there, I'm Mark Ponte. I'm a senior at SPU and majoring in computer science. I'm especially interested in application development and building tools that make people's lives easier. Through my study of computer science and working on several projects in my software engineering class and doing some side projects on my own in my spare time, I found application development incredibly rewarding, and I'm kind of exploring what kind of development though, what languages or what kind of fields I really want to focus on. And I was wondering if you knew anybody in software development I could talk to kind of try to figure that out.
That's perfect. That's really good. And there was just one slight little change I would make, which is you said something like, I was wondering what aspects of the field I might be interested in, and try and make it about them. It goes back to that thing about I'm researching companies where my interest in developing software applications might be able to make a meaningful contribution. Something cheesy. Something cheesy along those lines.
Something cheesy that makes it look like I want to add value to a company.
Absolutely, absolutely, yeah. And do you have any work experience in developing applications at all? Other than in classes?
I mean, I've had side projects. I've written a few applications of my own on the side that I could probably...
For other people or companies?
No, just
Oh,
for myself.
okay.
And I've done, I guess I did some. I contracted one summer and helped Primera kind of migrate and refactor their website, did some web development in
Oh,
there,
yeah,
but,
oh, yeah. See, now it's all coming out as a by the way. That needs to be in your narrative.
Okay.
Absolutely. Anytime you have a big name like Primera, put it in your narrative. Work it in there. Whatever that might be. Just say, I was lucky to have the experience of working with Primera one summer on a contract basis, helping them to develop some software for their health services, health services or something.
Okay.
Or whatever it is that's true. Okay, That's great. That sounds really good. So did anybody get stuck doing this? Is anybody thinking, oh my God, I can't even get past this first step? Are you all good? You all got an interim personal narrative? Okay, that's really important because you're going to be using it a lot. Okay, we will move on. Now, you'll notice at the bottom of this yellow page, I have something called your positioning. Positioning is a marketing concept, okay? Positioning is the attributes of a product or service that differentiate it from other products or services in that same competitive space. Okay, so if you guys just envision in your mind one of your favorite products right now. Just think about a product that when you go to the grocery store, you go to the drugstore, you go to the hardware store, you go to REI or whatever, it's the product you always buy or the brand you always buy. So think about that in your mind, okay? The reason you always buy that product is because it's different from other products in that same competitive space. So you need to think about what makes you different, because guess what? You're a product being introduced to the jobs marketplace. So you need to get outside in, get some eyes around you, your own eyes, looking at yourself and saying, what makes me different, okay? There we go. The easiest place to spot what differentiates you is to look at your strengths. And in the job market, depending on the fields you're exploring, there are different strengths. Personal quality like patience. Now, there are many other personal qualities that might differentiate you. Patience is a quality that is hugely advantageous to have if you're going into nursing or working with mentally ill patients, or even physical therapy and occupational therapy and that sort of thing, or geriatrics, or even customer service sometimes. So, but there are other personal qualities. If you go through your life and people are always saying, oh, Selena, you are so, just notice that and think, maybe that differentiates me. Maybe you have special abilities like fluency in a language. Any of you fluent in languages here? That differentiates you for sure, okay? Training or education, we know that differentiates you. You have a freshly minted education. This is huge. Take advantage of this golden moment and ride the wave because it's huge. You're just graduating. You have the benefit of the most recent education in your field. Employers will pay for that. Maybe you have experience in a field related to your major. And that's important to dredge that up. Just like, I'm sorry, Mr. Computer Science major, what was your first name, Mark? So just like Mark did, pull out of your experience, just out of the last few years, what you actually did. And even if it wasn't something you got paid for, it doesn't matter. The word volunteer never needs to come out of your mouth. Never. If someone says, were you paid for that? Which, by the way, they will not. You just say, no, it was a volunteer job. But they will never ask you that. Just say, I did this. I worked at a clinic where I was responsible for the intake of the patients. Now, the fact that you were volunteering there, it doesn't matter. You were working there. Even if Mark had done some software application development pro bono for somebody, which means volunteer. It's a fancy word for volunteer. He still did it. He still worked on it. So dredge up out of your experience what you've done. Maybe you love something most people hate. Anybody here got something like that? I'll give you an example. I have a cousin named Thomas Outerbridge. And growing up, he was incredibly annoying because he's obsessed with garbage. Like we would go, you know, on family picnics or vacations or whatever, and he always wanted to be like, okay, now we're gonna put the recycling here, and we're gonna put the garbage here, and we're gonna put the compost, and now you can't put, and we're all just like, God, you know, just Thomas, give it a rest. Well, he's built a pretty sweet career for himself in recycling. Recycling, compost, waste management. If you like managing waste, that is a fantastic career path. So, you know, most people wouldn't necessarily want to do that. Or eradicating pests, right? If you want to eradicate bed bugs from the United States or from other countries, you have a strong career ahead of you. Anybody got anything like that? I sort of collect them. No, nobody here has anything like that. Okay. We live in a distracted and distractible world. So if you have the ability to focus like nobody's business, that differentiates you. Same with detail orientation. Most people are not detail oriented. Another thing, good writing skills. You communications and English majors in here, you write that down. So write down on the bottom here some of the things that differentiate you. And keep in mind, they should be things that differentiate you in the eyes of a prospective employer. Okay, so not, you know, the fact that your hair is green or, you know, you won soccer tournaments when you were in middle school. Here's another big one, really good people skills. If you have good people skills, that should come up in your interview. For sure. I mean, although they'll probably be able to figure it out if you do. And finally, flexibility in your personal life. You are at a beautiful stage right now where most of you don't have kids, maybe even maybe some of you have spouses, but probably most of you don't. You don't have that many constraints. What happens is you go through life, you start acquiring constraints, also known as spouses, partners, children, dogs, cats, commitments, houses, whatever it is. Take advantage of this shining moment in your life when you have no constraints. You, an employer, can say, get on the plane tomorrow and go to St. Louis. We need somebody to meet face-to-face with that client. Get on the train and go down to Portland because we've got somebody who needs to go down and see what's going on at that plant. And that could be you. So be thinking about that. Has everybody got at least one or two things that differentiate them? What's your name?
I'm Krista.
Krista, what differentiates you?
I'm fluent in Spanish.
Sweet.
And I have strong writing skills. I offer really great people skills, and I'm a really natural leader.
Excellent. Okay, those are all really good things. These are things to know for yourself when you go into an interview. The only one that you probably wouldn't necessarily trot out in an interview is being a natural leader, because most likely they won't be hiring a recent college graduate to be the leader. But being a leader on a team is definitely something, another way you could say that would be maybe something like, it seems that whenever I'm in a group situation, I have the ability to pull people together and help us all be on the same page working towards a goal. That's a lot more words, I know, but it sounds a little better. Thank you, that was awesome. Can I hear somebody else over here? What differentiates them? How about you? What's your name?
Me?
Yes.
Rudy.
Rudy?
Yeah.
What differentiates you?
I speak Spanish also.
Okay.
I have a strong time management skills.
Ah, very good.
And I know how to offer good customer service.
Aha, those are very, very good. Excellent. So you guys get the hang of this differentiation thing? This is really important. The next time you're buying a product, think to yourself, why am I buying this product? What makes it better? And then turn that same gaze on yourself and ask that question. So what I'd like to see you do is try to weave in to your resume summary or your LinkedIn headline what differentiates you. So here's an example. Carl Thielander, and I've put what differentiates him in bold, okay? Senior at SPU, majoring in accounting, internship experience in accounting office of Casa Latina, excellent Spanish conversation skills. So if what differentiates you might directly lead to the kind of job you want to have, make sure to put it in the summary of your resume or in your LinkedIn headline. Here's another one, Amanda Genio, senior, majoring in communications, internship experience in development office of nonprofit, and excellent writing skills. Okay? It's all working? You all got a sense of how you can do that. By the way, if you have no internship experience, don't worry about it. Just say experience. But don't use the word volunteer, right? You're never going to do that, ever again. Okay, so this is how you're going to do it. Look at your strengths, what differentiates you, phrase and frame. So one thing that's good to remember is that when you meet somebody for the first time, you are 100% responsible for how they view you. So none of you have ever seen me before. I got up in front of you, I told you maybe 4 or 5 sentences about me. That's how you think about me. I drew a little frame within which you thought about me. So that is what you have to do with your personal narrative and with your positioning, is give people the frame to see you. Marketers do it every day. Okay, so we're going to rip through the next part of this because I want to focus most of the rest of our time on networking and informational meetings, but there's so many things in your marketing toolbox that I couldn't resist just including some of them. Okay, so your recorded phone greeting. Do any of you have a greeting that just says you reached 206-555-3333, or do you all have your own name on your greeting? Own name. Super important. When you record your greeting, stand up, take a deep breath, put a smile on your face, and say, "Hello, you've reached Amanda Genio's voicemail. Please leave me a detailed message." Because what you want is for people to hear the dynamic tones in your voice. If a prospective employer so part of why I'm saying all this to you is that at any point in the process of a prospective employer looking at you, they can just get off the train, right? They can call up, and if they get a voicemail that doesn't say it's you, they might say, "I'm not going to go further." This is a person who isn't even detail-oriented enough or not lazy enough to have recorded a greeting on their voicemail. So they get off the train. You don't want them to get off the train. So record a dynamic, exciting, the kind of greeting that makes someone want to meet you. It says, wow, that person sounds dynamic and interesting. The way you answer your phone, same thing. And note to selves, answer your phone. I know a lot of people these days do not answer their phone. When you start submitting resumes and you start submitting applications, answer your phone, because it could be that call, okay? Your email address, as part of my own professional development, I go to panels of recruiters and hiring managers, so people who are trying to find people like you. And the thing I have heard is that a Hotmail email, an AOL email, or for reasons I don't understand, a Yahoo email are seen as kind of not the best emails to have. Also importantly, your name is your brand. So you should be using, if possible, your full name in your email address. Because that's, you think of a product. Crest or whatever, Pampers, whatever it might be. The name of that product is what you want people to remember so that when they go to the store, they buy it. So you want people to be reminded of your name. And if you have a common name, and so you're like, oh, I'm never going to get something. What you do, let's say it's Gmail, johnsmith@gmail.com is obviously going to already be taken. Take a 3-digit string of numbers, make the first digit and the third digit the same. So like johnsmith737@gmail.com. Okay? Because 3 digits are very easy to remember, and if the first digit and the third digit are the same, it's even easier. Anybody got questions about email addresses? This is actually really important. By the way, I recommend using your SPU email whenever you're reaching out to an SPU alum, which you will be doing. But otherwise, probably use your own personal email that has your name. Questions about that? Yes.
So, I'm a writer,
Uh-huh.
and a lot of my work involves like writing workshops and things like that, in that kind of field. And my email is brendaraypoetry@gmail.com. And I don't know if that's bad for, say, if I'm like working at a community center, like it's not necessarily.
I would not use that email for applying for jobs. I would just use your name. I mean, unless you're applying for a job as a poet.
Yeah, or like a writer, it wouldn't work, then you wouldn't.
I don't think so. I think it's way too specific. What it signals is, I think of myself as a poet. That's what it says. I am a poet. And
That's
so,
not a bad thing.
it's not a bad thing unless you're applying for a job as a writer. Right? I mean, writing is different from poetry writing. Are you talking about applying for a job as a poetry writer?
Oh yeah. I don't know.
If you're applying for a job as a poetry writer, go for it. Use the name poetry. But otherwise, I wouldn't. I would just use your name. Other questions about email? Because this is actually really important. Okay. And then your signature. Do you all have signatures on your email that have your email address spelled out? Because if the person you're sending an email to uses Outlook, often it's just your name that pops up in the to or from field, and they can't see your actual email address. So you need to spell out your email and also put your cell phone number. And in some cases, your summary statement, senior at Seattle Pacific University with excellent, with whatever, your summary statement that we said for your headline or your LinkedIn. Okay. This we're going to go through fairly quickly because the Center for Career and Calling has amazing resources here. But in the last, I would say 2 or 3 years, your online profile has taken on a much heavier weight when employers are looking at you. The first thing they do is Google you. Basically, if you're not using your online profile, you're leaving an opportunity on the table because you can build a reputation that precedes you through blogging, through tweeting, through your LinkedIn profile. I see the writers in the room, or the communications people kind of smiling. I'm doing that. Most importantly, you can be intentional about what you want people to know about you, okay? And this has happened, so LinkedIn went public about 2 years ago, and one of the things that's happened since then is that LinkedIn is being much better managed than it ever was before, and they have a product called LinkedIn Recruiter that is used by people who want to find people like everyone in this room. So if you make your profile public and choose, highlight the skills that you have and the experience that you have, recruiters will find you. This is a beautiful, beautiful thing. This is another reason you always have to answer your phone. So I've noticed sometimes recruiters reach out by email, but they also reach out by phone. So answer that phone. Okay. Facebook, Google, and LinkedIn. If you can clean up your Facebook and also check the privacy settings, that's pretty important. You know, you don't want any drunk photos that are just kind of floating out there. Untag yourself in those photos or ask the person to untag you. Google yourself if there's anything incorrect, try to clean it up. LinkedIn profile, I've already sort of gone through this. And there is a wonderful webinar on how to use LinkedIn that is given by a woman named Lindsay Pollock. If you just type in the name Lindsay Pollock, LinkedIn webinar for job seekers, it's free. She works for LinkedIn, so she knows all the latest bells and whistles of LinkedIn. She can teach you how to search for Seattle Pacific University alumni who work in the fields you're exploring. Those are golden resources for you because they will want to help you. LinkedIn also has a nice, sweet little section on job search tips. While you're in the process of looking for jobs, I think you should take Lindsay's webinar once a month because they're always updating it. And it couldn't hurt. You'll just get more and more expert on LinkedIn. Okay, blog, tweet, demos, any public speaking, just get yourself out there. It's all good. It just means participate also on LinkedIn. If you have a field that you're interested in, join the groups that are professional groups associated with that field. Okay, so computer science, software developers groups, communications, public relations societies groups, those types of things. Read, you sort of have to filter through a lot of the stuff that they send you, but sometimes it's good. And if you comment on something in a wise way, that also heightens your profile. Okay. Most importantly, make sure your online presence is positioning you towards where you want to go, not where you have been. Okay? All right, so we're now going to get into the next. Before we go to this, any questions? I have done entire presentations on just what we just went through, all the marketing communications tools. But I want to allow plenty of time for networking and informational meetings. So any questions on the marketing communications tools I just went through? Anything not hit quite right, or you're thinking, ooh, I really need to fix that, or yes?
Question about LinkedIn. I know that you have like a profile picture on there.
Yep.
What's appropriate to use as a profile?
Oh, I'm so glad you asked that. Okay, so LinkedIn photo, a must. Recruiters are 60% more likely to contact someone through LinkedIn who has a photo. So you must have a photo. It should be a headshot only. You should be wearing something professional, which for men means a collared shirt, and for women means no cleavage, and it means a collared, some sort of, top with a structured jacket on top, something simple. And no other people's hands on your shoulder. That's, those photos you see with people's hands on the shoulder. It should be a headshot, and you should be smiling. Again, people are more apt to reach out to someone who's smiling. This applies to men too. It's amazing how powerful it is. So headshot in professional wear, smiling. Thank you for asking that question. Okay, any other questions about marketing communications tools? And I do want to tell you that every single one of those tools needs to be in tip-top shape. You need to carry that toolbox around you, clean those tools, sharpen them, keep them up to date. Every single one of those tools is going to help you get a job. So don't short shrift it on any of them. This is not the time to do that. Okay. Why? Everybody's probably telling you, right? Isn't everybody saying you need to network and do informational meetings? Everyone is saying that, right? Not just the people from the CCC, but everyone. Why do you need to do that? So here's this kind of hapless fellow in a florist shop. And I don't know about you, but the guy behind the counter looks like he needs some career counseling. I mean, he looks miserable, and he works in a flower shop. And this guy is saying, are these beautiful? I can't ever tell, okay? So what is happening is that you're about to graduate from college, and you bring so much to the table that you didn't before you started college. You've learned a lot, you've had a bunch of experiences, you're a more complex person than you were, but you don't know exactly what's going to be valuable to employers. Okay, so you've got the reason, one of the big reasons you go and network and do informational meetings is to figure out what is valuable about me. What can I offer to an employer? And here's the other reason why you need to do it. When I first became a career coach in the late 90s, 85% of jobs were landed through the process of networking and informational meetings. Now that figure is 95%. And it's because more and more people are doing it because they know they should. And so when an employer posts a position, they can fill their interview pool like that. Because the CEO's grandson, who just graduated from SPU, came over and did an informational interview a month ago. He's going in the interview pool. The receptionist's cousin just moved here from Omaha and is going around and talking to people. And yeah, we'll put him in the interview pool. And then the woman, the sort of mid-career woman who took some time out to have a baby and then took more time out, well, now she wants to come back. We got to put her in the interview pool. Before you know it, there are 3 people in the interview pool. That's plenty. We don't need to look at all these resumes that have come in online. Do you see what I'm saying? You need to be one of those people who has walked through their door and talked to them. Because, especially for college students, as I said earlier, jobs are created with you in mind. I see this once a month. And I have a pretty big practice. At any given time, I'm probably working with about 30 people or so, over the course of several months. I would say once a month, I see a job created for someone who has gone in through the process of networking and informational interviewing. And it's heavily weighted towards recent college graduates. You are the people they create jobs for. They meet you and they say, wow, this is a passionate young person with freshly minted skills and education. And they were so proactive, they came in and talked to me about my company and about ways to build a career in this space. I'm going to find a place for this person. And they do. You become a vulture before the job is posted. Those people I was just talking about, the CEO's grandson and the receptionist's cousin and the women who came back from maternity leave, they are vultures circling over any job opening. And that's what you need to be, is a vulture. It's kind of an awful metaphor. But you know what? You can only get a job if you get in the interview pool. I mean, and when a job is posted, there are literally hundreds of applicants for it. So if you're not in the interview pool, you're not going to get a job. And the biggest mistake I see job seekers do is spend 8 hours a day online submitting perfect cover letters and perfect resumes and perfect attachments through the online systems of companies. You might as well go to your window of your apartment and just drop it out the window into the wind, because it's not going to get you the job. You need to have that personal connection where someone calls in and says, you need to look at, what was your name again? I'm sorry. Rudy, you need to look at, I know that Rudy so-and-so has just applied for this job. You need to pull his resume out of the stack. They're not calling to say, give Rudy the job. They're calling to say, pull him out of the stack. And that is really valuable. Okay, So networking, people ask what networking is. It's literally just connecting with people. And this could be anyone, okay? Everyone you know, Facebook, LinkedIn, anybody you've ever worked with or done volunteer work with, acquaintances from the gym, the corner store where you live. This is a big one. Trade associations in your target field. So depending on what your field is, type into Google, National Association of, whatever it is. That's what a trade association is. You guys know what trade associations are. They're professional groups. Those places are packed with people who want to help you. Alumni and career offices of SPU are similarly packed with people who want to help you. And I want to tell you, the Seattle Pacific University Career Center is one of the best I have seen. That is an incredible resource for all of you. So take advantage of it while you're here. It's free. Okay. And pretty much everyone, on pages 28 and 29 of that Center for Career and Calling booklet, you guys all have that, don't you? That,
Is it the career and transition one?
It's this. Do you guys have this?
It's $5 at the Career Center, but most of the resources all are online.
Oh, okay, perfect. You guys need to get this, and you need to sleep with it under your pillow and memorize all of it. It is fantastic. It's so good. Okay, so these are all resources to connect you with people. So wherever you go, you need to work the room. Just get around. Once you get a job, you can go to a party like this and just chill out in the corner. Or not even go to the party, okay? But while you're looking for a job, you are going to go to every party you are invited to, period. I am going to make you do that. Your neighborhood has a little neighborhood gathering. You're going to show up, okay? There's a group that you have hung out with since high school and they're getting together in June after everybody graduates. Go and talk to them. Because going back to what I said early in this presentation, it's those random connections that will lead you to someone in your field who can give you a job. So the goals of networking are to spread the word that you're exploring. Practice that narrative, because the more times you say it, you'll notice, oh, you know, when I say that I'm fluent in Spanish, people really are impressed by that. Or when I say that I worked for Primera, people are really impressed by that. And then you'll know to always include it in your narrative. You'll start refining things. Everything is malleable and fluid. You never really finalize your resume. You'll get support and guidance, which is kind of important. And the big gap is it introduces you to people you can contact for an informational meeting who are in your field. So why is networking scary? Tell me, what's scary about networking? What's your name?
My name's Chelsea.
Kelsey? Chelsea. So what's scary about networking?
I will admit that I'm an extrovert, so for me, I really enjoy meeting new people.
Okay,
I
cool.
can
So it's
understand-
not scary for you.
Right, but I can understand for people that maybe don't have the natural interpersonal skills,
Yes.
going into a room full of strangers can be very daunting and intimidating.
Yes, exactly.
And so you're
It's intimidating.
right.
And what makes it intimidating? Why is it intimidating? What's your name?
Marina.
Marina?
Yeah, I guess you're kind of putting yourself out there for like
Yeah.
people to evaluate you and judge you and see if they who they know and if how much effort they want to put into
Right.
helping you kind of,
Yeah, you
And
sort
even you
of
could
feel like
say
you're
that.
being judged in
Yeah.
a way,
which is always
which is
scary.
kind of a creepy feeling. What else? What else makes it challenging? What's your name? Jasmine.
I think walking into a room and seeing a lot of people and not knowing who to talk to or like which conversations to join without being
Yes. Okay, so let's talk about that for a second, because that will happen to you. You'll walk into a big group and you know you're supposed to talk to people. This is where you use your eyes to observe body language. If there are two people who are talking intensely to each other, like pretty close, don't interrupt that. Stay away from that. If there are a couple or maybe three people standing around, they're kind of awkwardly sipping their drinks and kind of going like this, those are the people you go up to. And you say, "Hi, I'm Jasmine." Stick out your hand. And then immediately they'll say their name, remember their name, and a good way to remember the name is to say their name. You don't say it, it sometimes goes away right away. Say their name and then ask them a question. What brings you here? That is a never fail question. And then follow up. What else makes networking? Yes, what's your name?
Katrina.
Katrina.
Yeah, what you did, the following up part. I'll for me personally, it's easy to meet people, talk to people, I'm good in crowds, like all that, but I think the part that gets intimidating is knowing that I'm not too good at like following up, as in like, okay, well, what do I do when I set this next meeting, like to get more information about
Questions.
you know, so.
Questions.
Yes.
Okay. So Katrina's brought up it's kind of like, okay, you can get through that first part where you're saying hello and shaking hands. Then what? Gotta ask a question. So, what brings you here? And then whatever they say, ask a question about it.
Oh, no, I mean like after the whole, like an email, like see ya, that whole, after leaving the whole first meeting of someone, it goes really well. But then the whole like follow through, like
oh, okay, we're gonna get to
Yeah.
that. You mean when you actually go and have an informational meeting? Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, we're gonna talk about that.
Okay.
This is just networking. This
Okay.
is just meeting people. So, and that, it can be intimidating. Yeah, thank you, Katrina. We will be getting to that for sure. We'll cover that in excruciating detail. Okay, so here are the reasons that I frequently hear for why networking is scary. The two that are pretty easy for you to fix are the ones in green. You don't know how to get started and you don't know what to say. Well, we've already kind of figured that out, haven't we? We've checked that off. You're going to go up to smallish groups of people who are clearly not actively engaged in conversation and just introduce yourself. And believe me, the first few times you do this, Chelsea, you apparently have no problem with it. So it's gotten easier, right? Probably in the beginning it wasn't all that easy. But the more you do it, it's a non-issue. And you will be doing this your whole life because professional development is about building professional relationships and building a professional network. So you're at the very beginning of building that professional network. Okay, and you don't know what to say. We solved that, didn't we? So you now have your personal narrative. But most importantly, you're going to be asking those people a lot of questions, right? That's how you're going to differentiate yourselves in your minds, is you're going to ask such good questions. I can't tell you how many times I've gone to a party. I've met someone, I asked them many, many, many questions about them, their path, because I'm sort of always doing this because I'm interested in people's past. And the next day I call the host and say, thank you so much for preparing this. Oh, Jacqueline really, really liked you. She just thought you were so great. And I'm like, to myself, I'm thinking, isn't that funny? Jacqueline knows absolutely nothing about me. All she knows is that I asked her a million questions about her. There's a moral in there somewhere, right? Yes.
So my question with that is that if we're asking so many questions, then how are they like going to get to know who we
they will.
are? Okay, through that, because I always have that.
Question, asking good questions leads fairly naturally to more of an interactive conversation. Like you'll be able to follow up on something they say and say, oh, that really sounds cool. I did something like that the summer before my junior year. Like you'll get good at sort of weaving in something about you, and then hopefully, unless they're narcissistic, they will ask you something about yourself. Okay? So these are the sort of feeling things that are, I've put them in red because they're big, bad feelings. But I can tell you guys, you can put these aside. Feeling intimidated by more experienced people, feeling you have nothing to offer, feeling like a fraud or imposter, feeling you're asking for something but have nothing to give in return. Those are all really common feelings. But the fact is that you actually do have a lot to offer. You've done some self-assessment and some reflection. You know a little bit about the direction you want to go. You've got a little bit of experience. Your coursework, as I've said probably 3 times, is freshly minted. And most importantly, you are young and beautiful. And people want to help you. This is true of all people my age. When someone young and beautiful, which you all are, comes to us, we're like, oh, how adorable. I want to help this person. And it's not just me. Every person my age is like this. Right? Think about your parents. Right? Don't your parents love helping kids your age? Right? It's just the way we are. It's the way humans are coded to be. It's in our DNA. So you're giving them an opportunity to do something they want to do. And really, this is true. Okay. So, you know what, I'm just going to skip this. Okay. So attend with a friend if it's hard for you to go by yourself, but then split up the minute you walk in there. Don't hang out with a friend. Smile, introduce, ask your question, use their name. We went over that. We talked about the narrative, personal narrative, many people. What's it like working with your hands? Okay, so what you need right now isn't that a cute cartoon? What's it like working with your hands? So this is a sample of a professional network tracking spreadsheet. Because you are beginning to create your professional network. And if you start tracking it in this detail-oriented way right now, it will really save your neck down the road. And it's set up this way. Actually, a client of mine created this, and I liked it so much I asked him if I could, borrow it and use it and teach it to other people. Basically, what you can do is have the date and what you did go indefinitely out on the right-hand side there. But this enables you to capture how you know someone, who introduced you, and the last time you were in touch with them. And there are other ways to do it. There's something called Evernote. Anybody use that application? Do you like it?
I love that.
Okay, I've heard some really good things about Evernote. And then there's also an application on a site called jibberjobber.com, which is meant for the same thing. So whatever it is, you gotta do it. Keep track of your people. Okay, now we're gonna talk about, yes?
Just to interrupt real quick. Our hour's actually up.
I thought we had till 4:20.
we have till 4.
They told me we had till 4:20.
On the paper it says
It says 4:20.
This is 4:20 on the paper.
Yeah. It was originally 4, and then she wrote me and said, do you want till 4:20?
Okay,
And I said,
perfect.
yeah.
Just wanted to make sure anyone who was sneaking out for class didn't see if we could.
Oh, okay, good point. If anybody needs to leave, I won't have hurt feelings. Thank you. Okay, so now we're going to go to informational interview, which is this. Okay? So step 1 is through networking, you identify someone who is in your target field. So let's say, was it you, Selena, who wants to work in a PR firm? Mm-hmm. Okay. So let's say Selena goes to an SPU mixer, and she meets someone who says, oh yeah, my girlfriend Ray works for Scoville PR here in Seattle. And so Selena says, oh cool, would you be comfortable introducing me to Ray? And the person says, I'd love to. And this is after she and Selena have been chatting for a few minutes. You ask, so first Selena asks that person for an introduction, would you be comfortable introducing me? And the person of course says yes. You offer to do the work yourself of contacting that person. So what that means is, Selena would say, do you want to just give me her email address, or would you rather make the introduction yourself? And this one falls exactly 50-50. About half the time someone will say, oh no, I'll write an email introducing you. That's what I would do, because I'm more of a control freak. I don't want people just willy-nilly contacting my contacts without me being the introducer and framing it for them, right? But a lot of people they're like, yeah, you would do that, great, less work for me. And what's the advantage of doing that? Yes,
Shows that you're proactive
Yes.
and that you can take initiative.
it shows you're proactive. It also means that if she forgets to do it, you don't become the pest saying, you said you were going to connect me with Ray and I haven't heard from you yet. What's up with that? Okay, you're also going to assure that person that you will use her name in the email. And that's you'll see a couple of sample emails here. And it's the subject of the email, you put the name of the person who referred you. So Andy Thompson referral, request for short informational meeting. You guys, by the way, know informational interview and informational meeting are the same thing. They're used interchangeably. The reason the word informational interview came into use is that you are the person doing the interview. You're asking the questions. I personally like the word meeting better and informational meeting because it's a little less, I don't know, but they both work. People know what they are. So have no fear about doing that. Okay. Then you contact that person. So you contact Ray, ask for 20 minutes in person. Why 20 minutes? Why not ask for an hour? Why are you asking for 20 minutes?
It sounds long enough, not inconvenience, but it's long enough.
Exactly. It's short enough that it doesn't bother them, and they should be able to give you 20 minutes. But it's long enough to have a meaningful connection. And why in their office? Any anthropology majors here? No. Why in their office? Why do you want to go to their office? Why not just meet them at a Starbucks? Yes.
I think it gives a chance to kind of see into who they are, more things to relate to them with, and you kind of see where they're coming from a little bit more.
Absolutely, Katrina.
It also puts you in their workplace, and so they see you there.
Exactly. They see you in their workplace, and
More convenient, they don't have to leave.
it's more convenient. And yes,
They might be more comfortable.
yeah, exactly. They're definitely more comfortable. They have all their things around them. And you, as an anthropologist, will see the artifacts of their profession everywhere from the moment you walk in the door. Right at the reception desk, you'll see stuff that teaches you about their profession. You'll walk into Scoville PR and you'll see right in the front, you'll see a fabulous video screen that will have some samples of some of the work they've done for their clients. So even while you're waiting the 5 minutes to see her, you're going to be learning about what's going on there. However, because you want them to stay in their office, you have to offer to bring them a latte. A latte is a bribe. It is an ethical bribe. And trust me, it works. It keeps their butt in their office, so they're not going to a Starbucks, which isn't going to help either of you. For the other reason to have it in their office is often if they really like you and there's a real connection and they see the value you could offer, they'll go around and start introducing you. I would say 10 or 15% of my clients have had that happen to them, where they go in, they start talking to the person goes, come on over, I want to introduce you to Greg over here, and off you go. Which, if you're parking, by the maximum amount of time on your parking spot, my client who created this beautiful spreadsheet did an informational meeting downtown, and he only paid for half an hour of parking, and it happened to be one of those just fabulous informational meetings that went on for an hour and a half, and the whole time he's thinking, oh God, I'm going to get a terrible ticket when I get back. Okay, so you offer to bring a latte. If you don't hear anything, wait 2 weeks and write again. Don't forward them the original email, because then it's like, you're such a slacker. Look, I wrote you this email and you didn't respond. Write a brand new email, pretty much the same, a little bit different, and ask them the same question. They'll remember getting the first one, and they'll think, oh, she's persistent. I do need to reply. Questions?
I had a question about offering a latte, to bring a latte, how would you go about doing that? You just send another email, or in the original email you say that would be like, I don't know, how would that?
Thank you for mentioning that. So let's read one of these emails. Hello, Tom. This June, what did you say?
Oh, she's like, I wouldn't give you a latte, and I said you're not trying to get the job on me.
The whole latte thing, I'm telling, I could write a whole book on just the latte thing, because I've had a lot of clients who really push back on it, and I was like, no, 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 you are bringing a latte. And later they thanked me, because it is a bribe. It is an ethical bribe. Okay, hello, Todd. This June, I'm graduating with a degree in computer engineering from Seattle Pacific University, and I'm exploring career paths, blah, blah, blah. Andy Thompson, my uncle's colleague at Amazon, suggested that you would have some really interesting insights about this area. Really interesting insights. It is flattering. The person who's reading it goes, yeah, I would have such interesting insights, wouldn't I? I like this person already. Would it be possible to meet with you at your office for 20 minutes so that I could ask you a few questions about your work? I'll bring you a latte, just let me know what type you like, and I'll bring it with me. I promise to take no more than 20 minutes of your time, and that's a promise you have to stick to, by the way. Set your phone, turn off the ringer, but leave the vibrate on. Have your phone vibrate at 17 minutes, and at 20 minutes, you get up and say, thank you so much. This has been really helpful. So does that answer the question about the latte?
Yes.
It's right in the original. Good. It's right in the original email. But there was another question. Yes.
The 2 weeks before you contact them, is that a good rule of thumb?
Before you contact them again.
Again, right. And that's, I have a company I've been talking to for like over months, and they just don't get back to me. Is that 2 weeks is a good amount of time?
You know, it just depends on the situation.
Okay.
Yeah, I think 2 weeks is a good amount of time. What happens is, and this happens to me, it happens to just about everybody, your inbox fills up, you know, and you sort of are focused on the top part, and then if something gets down here, you kind of forget about it. So then if the person writes you back, you're like, oh God, okay, I really need to do this. Question?
And then for the responding to the email, like if you haven't heard from for like a week or two, versus, you know, I understood it's a fun informational interview I was trying to set up, and it's okay to respond to the last one that they sent you, which is like creating a whole new email, so they can see the chain, or is it better to create a whole new email?
Well, so they did respond to your first email.
They did, and then they didn't get back to settle like a date. Or
Oh, I
time.
see. So they responded the first time and said, great to hear from you. I'll check my calendar and let you know.
Yeah, like let me know some dates. So I gave them some dates when it was silent, and so I said.
Oh, yeah. No, in that case, go ahead and send back the chain.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure.
Thank you. No, that's a really good clarification. Okay, if you still don't hear anything though, make a phone call, because maybe this is that 1 out of 25 people that is not email centric, and leave a very complete message. And if you still don't hear anything, just let it go. Go back to the person who referred you and say, hey, Jeanette, I really appreciate your referral to Ray at Scoville PR. She must be really, really busy, because I reached out to her a couple times on email, and then I also left her a message, and I never heard back from her. You don't want to make it sound like that Ray's a bad person. Just say, she must be really busy. And then I'll tell you what, that person is going to call Ray and say, don't miss the chance to meet Selena. Okay, step 3 is preparation. Before you send that first email, you have to have your resume and your LinkedIn all ready to go. Because about 50% of the time, the person will respond fairly quickly and say, I'd love to meet with you, send me your resume. Because they know what you're doing. You don't want to send them a resume because then it looks like you're looking for a job, but they know what you're doing. So you gotta have your resume ready, and it has to be focused on their field. It has to look as if it would be helpful in their field. This is really obvious, and you all are good students. Do homework. Do not ask any questions that could have been answered by a quick trip to their website. I strongly suggest that if they live in a complicated part of town, that you try and do a scouting trip first, because there's nothing worse than sweating and getting all stressed out because you can't find the place you're supposed to go. You do not want to arrive at the entrance to the building, the office, any more than 5 minutes ahead of time. Because if you arrive 10 or 15 minutes ahead of time, then you become a problem for the receptionist, right? He or she is sitting there going, God, am I supposed to call him? Or should I just let her sit here? You know what I mean? No more than 5 minutes. And you walk in, introduce yourself professionally. Hello, I'm John Smith. I'm here for my 3 o'clock meeting with, and say thank you very much. Okay. Bring multiple copies of your resume, have a professional file folder. If you win that leather portfolio that the Center for Career and Calling is asking, dress as if you're going to a job interview and thank the person. Okay, on the back of this sheet is what you want to ask, okay? You need to know 4 things. What was the path? There, by the way, it's just about 4:20, so if any of you need to leave, please feel free. I will finish the presentation no later than 4:30, I promise. But if you need to leave, please. What was your path to the work you're doing now? Because you want to know how they got to what you're doing now, okay? What do you like about your field or what you do? Do you have any idea why you might ask that? What do you like about what you do? Later, when you apply for jobs in that area, you know what to say. So I had a client who was interviewing in the human resource, or doing informational meetings in the human resources field, and one of the people she interviewed, did an informational meeting with, said, you know, you spend a lot of time figuring out insurance policies when you work in human resources and helping people choose, you know, their insurance policy. So that was helpful to my client because when she started interviewing for human resources jobs, she said, you know, I've always really enjoyed the complexities of insurance plans and explaining them to people. Just shoot me now. But she did. She really literally liked it. So she was able to genuinely say that she liked making complicated things simple for people, and insurance plans are for sure one of those. Okay, what changes do you see happening in this field? Okay, you ask that question so that you become more and more knowledgeable about the cutting edge of your field and where you can position yourself to add value. Okay, and finally, always the ask, is there anyone else you think would be interesting for me to talk to? So this is really the key. What is the value I could bring to you? You really want to understand that because that's going to help you position yourself towards employers. Take notes, makes you look good, often to do the work of contacting others, which I already mentioned. Okay, follow up. That's what this is all about. My little lavender thank you sheet. Thank you. Yes, Katrina.
Slide a little bit. Would you recommend not talking about these questions? Like a lot of times when I'm doing the networking, I'm just meeting someone, I'll start asking them like about their path and the question that we just mentioned, or I'll start asking them, is there a boundary to set when it comes to how deep to go in conversation? Sometimes I'm asking
you mean,
about, like,
okay, so you're networking and you come across someone in your field.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead, do an informational interview, why not? I mean, I'd rather have you do that in their office because you'll get more from it. In fact, if you, let's say you met someone at a mixer here on the SPU campus, maybe you could say to them, you know, to have a conversation with them and then say, you know, would it be okay if I came to your office and spent 20 minutes just asking you some questions about your job? I think that's when you get more out of it and you can take notes and remember things. Good question. Okay, what's a meaningful thank you? Yes?
Usually it's good specifically referencing what you talked about in the interview, so just like
Exactly. You thank them for your time and then you specifically refer to something. And I've given you on page 1 of this thank you handout About halfway down, I've told you in bold what you need to thank people for. It's usually nouns. They give you time, comments, advice, perspective, insights, observations, and introductions and referrals. And then I've given you a sample thank you email, just because when you're first starting to write them, it's just helpful to have a sample sometimes that you can look at. And then you go back and you thank the person who referred you. So if Selena meets with Ray, she's going to go back to that person that she met at the SPU mixer and say, thank you so much, thank you, that famous word, thank you so much for referring me to Ray. We had a great conversation yesterday, and she was really interested about the changes that are happening in the public relations field. I can't thank you enough for taking the time. I hope all is well with you. Okay, follow up. Thanking, key skill, stay in touch regularly, let them know where you land. People don't feel thanked until they have been thanked how many times? Want to guess?
7. 20.
7.
Oh,
7.
20.
We're almost done. We have class in 5 minutes.
Good, we are.
Okay.
We're
great,
just
thanks.
wrapping up. Okay. So you guys will remember to thank. Farm your network, don't harvest it. If you want to read a book about a network that's really good about networking, it's called Your Network is Your Net Worth. Not about your resume. Okay, all done. Thank you.